potential for, um, I don't know, I don't want to say, I'm going to say Maxine, the name Maxine, and hopefully you know what I'm talking about, because I'm not talking here about injections because I just wouldn't come out and speak about anything to do with COVID injections. We've heard the rumors about the association between this and cancer. There's been reports of an uptick in cancer since the pandemic, and question marks around whether someone named Maxine might have had something to do with this, if you know what I mean. A report was published in January earlier this year, and it looked at a range of like over 60 studies that were looking at the effects that someone named Maxine might have had in producing cancer um, following the pandemic. 66 studies and spanning, including a 300,000 cohort in Italy, 8.4 million cohort in Korea, 1.3 million US veterans. So this is a significant study spanning a significant population. And what it found was some recurrent themes like the recurrence of cancer, reactivation of dormant cancer that was thought dormant and treated and taken care of was reactivated, and also a very rapid progression. Uh, and I was just speaking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about the subject of cancer, and she said to me, you know, recently you don't hear it, you hear people getting cancer. It's not like suddenly they're in stage four, suddenly they have stage four cancer. It's not like stage one and there's this, and then they're treating it, they're getting diagnosed and they're having chemo, and then, sometime later they're in stage three. Now it's just like you hear someone's got cancer, then it's stage four. I don't know if you're having that experience yourself, and I'm interested to know what you've heard recently, or what you've heard since the pandemic. Do you have friends who developed cancer? Did they have an encounter with Maxine? And you know what I'm talking about when I say Maxine. Um, I don't know, what have you seen? Because I have a friend, a close friend, whose mother, she developed lymph node cancer, and I'll talk about the connection to that in a moment. I'm not 100% sure if she did have the vaccine. I suspect very likely she did. I have to verify that. And I do know someone else. So that's two people. A friend, I think another friend of a friend who also developed cancer since the pandemic. Before that, I've known very few people in my life who've had cancer. What else can I say about? I also introduced, that I interviewed Dr. Russell Blaylock, the retired brain surgeon, not so long ago on the topic of oncomodulation, talking about the potential for cytomegalovirus, this virus that's present in 50% of the population in the US, people over 40, triggering cancer. But he also talked to me about the potential for vaccines to trigger cancer, largely because they're using, like this virus, cytomegalovirus, it is suppressing the immune system. The suspicion is also that vaccines have this effect. Sorry, Maxine would have this effect. This is what was also, this is what is recently, um, a doctor from, I believe, Oxford in England, he came out, he said at a Washington conference that his opinion is that, this was in an Epoch Times article published today, that his opinion is that these mRNA vaccines are very likely contributing to cancer. Um, when I spoke to Dr. Russell Blaylock about this, when he talks about the suppression of the immune system, the likely mechanism involved here is that, for one, the vaccine is overwhelming the immune system and stopping the production of T cells, whose responsibility is to deal with the cancer virus. If you don't know, the immune system plays a very large role, something I never realized before, but it plays a huge role in mopping up cancer. And that's why when people have organ transplant surgery, they are much more inclined, much more likely to develop cancer, because the drugs that they take to allow their body to accept the new transplanted organ also suppresses the immune system. This opens the gateway to cancer. So you see these individuals who have had transplant surgery have a much higher chance of developing cancer than the rest of the population. Generally, what studies have indicated is that the mRNA vaccine, this person named Maxine, who I've referred to in the past before, has a likelihood of shifting the cells that would normally, the antigens that would normally deal with cancer, shifting them from attack mode to tolerance mode. So they're just not dealing with that threat the way they normally would. I've put this paper, I'll add that into the description so you can have a look at that, check it out for yourself. I think the general message from this is there needs to be a lot more investigation. There needs to be a lot more studies looking at the effects that this person Maxine, might have in relation to people developing cancer. And I think you need to weigh up the benefits of having Maxine in your life opposed to, what are the chances this is really going to protect you from what it's supposed to protect you from versus the risks involved. And there really seems to be significant risk. And you want to look at the risks of children because increasingly they're looking at making this mandatory in schools, introducing Maxine so that all school children have to meet Maxine in their lessons. Great to be with you. I'm Brendon Fallon, health journalist with Epoch TV and NTD. Check out my earlier video on the cytomegalovirus based on my interview with Russell Blaylock, also talking about this little known factor that is very likely contributing to cancer. I'll see you soon.